It's time for the KickAround, the Ticket's weekly show all about soccer. 2 hours of HSOs on the clubs, leagues, and tournaments of the world's game. It doesn't matter if you're new to the sport, don't worry. This is the Ticket. We're just kicking it around. Now, our very own yellow and red card. Andy Swift and Peter Welton.
Anthony trying to help it on towards Laurent, but there's King. Trouble. Able to pick the patch for Wilson. And Harry Wilson turns the game around in Fulham's favour. The star of their season into double figures in the Premier League in the current campaign. 2 quick goals for the Cottagers. And Burnley, having led, are very swiftly behind.
Hi-to-ho, P1s, and welcome to an early episode and edition of the KickAround. Normally Saturdays 2 to 4, but today noon to 2:30 here on Sports Radio 96.7 and 1310, The Ticket, where you, the good P1, sits around, talks soccer, and all that implies. Don't forget, you can also find us on the website, thekickaround.com. Hi, it's me, Peter. And to my left, but to your right, as you stare with great love and adoration and anticipation into your streaming device or broadcast box, it is the world's most interesting man, Andy Dalton Swift.
Peter, good morning to you. Actually, it's post-morning, but we greeted each other with good morning.
We did. It was still morning when we first saw each other. Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful.
That's a rare occurrence.
Now, in a very special move, also joining us live via the miracle of the internet from some super exotic location in Europa, it is our favorite Norwegian, Lars Sivertsen. Howdy, Lars.
Hi, guys. How's it going?
Lars!
So nice to be with you guys. Love
How
that.
are you, my friend?
I'm so good. I'm almost directly out of a sauna, Peter. I'm going
What?
to... I've been going pretty regularly to a gym that has a pool and a sauna and like a plunge pool thing, so you can do the very hot to very cold rota, which makes you feel tremendous. I'm a huge fan of it. I feel several years younger than I did this morning.
Were you absorbing much football today in your neck of the woods?
I was absorbing it a little bit. I noticed with alarm that Liverpool are still not very good, Andy. I think that was not a good one for you guys.
Yeah, I didn't tune in today.
It's a good life choice. I like that for you.
Looking forward to catching up on all things Premier League through the KickAround.
I mean, that's not what we're doing this segment.
No,
but I'm sort of
that-
getting kind of sort of worried for your manager and his whole situation going into the season. I know that the briefings from the club have been emphatic that they love this guy, they want to stick with him. There was something about how, even his statistical profile is thus that if they were to hire someone new, he would be top of their list or some stuff like that was said, I reckon. But it's not looking good right now.
Liverpool was playing like doo-doo. Yeah, that was me every week for the last 8 months.
See, Andy, I'm not ganging up on you.
Mm-hmm. It's all fair game. They are not a good football club right now.
All right, let's talk about what's going on the show today. Lars is here because we have a big announcement, and I wanted to include Lars in the show live today before it turns Sunday, where he currently is. So we needed to get him on right off the bat. We obviously have the World Cup playoffs are getting ready to start between now and the next time we do a show, so we're going to preview a little bit of that. We'll get Lars to talk about – this has been a bad week for my friend Lars. Between Spurs and Bodo, I feel like we're also having Lars on just to give him some support.
Yeah, it's not great, is it? I start the show by sticking a boot into Andy's. That was it's a preemptive strike is what it is, because I know what's coming.
It all comes back, man.
So we'll talk about Champions League quarterfinals. We'll talk some Premier League. We'll also do America's favorite soccer segment known as The Dribble. But first, we are going to use this opportunity with Lars live on the radio with us to formally and officially announce that the KickAround, World Cup KickAround that is, will officially return coming up this summer to do nightly World Cup wrap-up shows live on the Ticket for the entirety of the tournament. And topping it off is that Lars will be here in Dallas for 2 months, joining us for the entirety of all the shows.
Yes. I mean, it's so good.
Yes. So, Lars, are you excited about coming to Texas for 2 entire months in the middle of the summer?
I am excited. I mean, about half of my baggage allowance will just be sunscreen, I think, given I'm bringing the sort of delicate Nordic fair skin over there. But no, it's going to be incredible. I think the last time we did this, I did it from my workroom at my old place, and I thought we made some very good content last time. And I think the idea of doing it together with you guys in person is really exciting for me. I obviously love working with you, Peter. We've done a lot of stuff together over the last few years. But I think getting to do a nightly show with Andy is a real treat for me. Because Andy is such an incredibly knowledgeable guy, but he is knowledgeable in the opposite way that I am. Like, all the stuff I'm the least
like
good
in the
at in
ignorant
terms
way.
of no. All the stuff I'm the least good at in terms of soccer knowledge is where you shine, which means we have totally different perspectives and things. And I just think that's a really great starting point for good broadcasting. If you've got people who are both like passionate and fairly knowledgeable about something, but come at it from slightly different perspectives, because we don't always agree. And I think that what makes it really good. So I'm super excited about doing it, super excited about doing it in person. And the last time I came to visit, I had a very nice time.
Yeah. So just to kind of put into perspective what's going to happen, on the very first show, which will be June the 10th, which is the Wednesday, the day before the tournament starts, we will do our preview show of the World Cup. We'll actually do a much bigger preview the Saturday before, but the 7 o'clock on Wednesday, the 10th of June, we'll all be in studio after the hardline. We'll do a preview for the tournament, and then the next night, obviously, is night 1 of the tournament, and every Monday through Friday night, starting at 7 on the ticket, we'll do at least an hour. Now, because of the format of the tournament, it's going to be a little bit wild because we'll be talking pretty much every day about games that have been completed and games that are either A, going on while we're on the air or about to kick off. Because I don't know if everybody's looked at the schedule, but there are a lot of games kicking off at 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m., So it's going to be wild how we get into doing the show every day and trying to figure out how we fit everything into the hour or so that we'll have.
Yeah, you've made an incredible schedule for us, Peter, just to look at, to get a flavor of what the summer's going to be like. And I have it in front of me now, and it just makes my brain melt a little bit. But because there's so many games, I usually, with these tournaments, I make a point of trying to, as far as it's humanly possible, to watch every single game. I'm not sure how I'm gonna make that work this year.
Well, we're counting on you. We thought that was going to be your role. So
my double screening skills.
No, I'm still
going to try. Like, I'm bringing more than one laptop. Like, definitely.
Wait a second. This will change everything.
At least, no, I'm gonna need at least 2 monitors with me at all times. Like, if you come across me wandering the desert in Texas this summer, I'll be carrying at least 2 laptops at any given moment, because we need to have monitors at the ready. There's so many games. We're going to have so much fun covering this. It's going to be tremendous.
It is. And on the days that the U.S. plays, I know the station has already booked us to do live remotes, do our show remotely on at least 2 of the group stage games, if not all 3. And I would anticipate, assuming the U.S. goes through to the knockout stages, there will be other live appearances during the show. And let me also say this. Lars he says he's bringing his golf clubs. And I would encourage any good P1 that is a golf aficionado, has access to courses and stuff, you should feel free to invite Lars for an early morning outing for a golf round while he's in town, because I'm sure he would take you up on that kind of thing.
On non-World Cup game days, clearly.
Well, maybe
Clearly.
early.
Yeah.
Well, maybe if he goes at like
No,
7 in
I'm
the morning, he gets it like his. It's like his early
There's
jog.
a couple of blank days towards the
No,
knockouts.
yeah. And there's some days when the first game is played at like 2, for example.
Right, exactly.
So,
Exactly.
Yeah, we'll help Lars out. And the other thing I'll tell everybody, one way or the other, we'll figure out a way to put Lars on a DFW tour of some sort, where maybe, for lunch one day or something, when we don't have an official appearance, we'll take Lars somewhere so people can come meet Lars and have a beer and talk World Cup in person. We'll figure out a way to get everybody their opportunity to come give Lars a big hug and hello. So there you go, Lars.
If Lars is willing.
That sounds really exciting. And last time I came to visit you, we did meet some of the P1s, and they were tremendously nice people. That's something I have observed in terms of extremely supportive and positive listeners you guys have got. Because without bringing up past traumas here, back when I sort of cracked my leg, you mentioned it on the show, and I got so many messages from people compared to like other places where that got mentioned. There's a very caring and appreciative bunch you got listening. So it would be lovely to meet you guys. Yeah.
On the likability, lovability rankings of the Kick-Around, I'm at the bottom, Andy's in the middle, and you're at the very top, Lars. I think that's how it runs. So that's why.
And the gap between middle, top, and the bottom it's a huge gap.
I was thinking, listening to the intro, you're the Kick-Around's yellow and red cards. I mean, I was wondering which is which. I was about to ask you, but of course, I do know the answer to that.
Yes.
I don't actually need to ask you.
Very much.
Which one of you is a walking red card in a
Right.
broadcasting sense?
Okay.
It's definitely not Andy Swift.
Yeah.
So amongst, watching how so just to put this into perspective, we're doing 36 episodes of the Kick-Around over the course of the tournament. We are producing 44 hours minimum of programming over the course of the tournament. And somehow through all of this, Andy, we got to figure out how to A, help Lars go play some golf.
Yes.
B, we have to go take him to a wide selection of the finest Texas
That's easy
eatery.
because we have to eat.
Right,
so,
we have to eat.
Yeah.
And then I have to take Lars to a range to teach him how to shoot.
So every time you take him to a range to teach him how to shoot, then I get one visit to the bar with Lars.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And to sample some good spirits. Deal, Lars?
So see, now you're selling it to me. Like I'm looking at this, and it says 36 shows, 44 hours of programming. Now, dear listener, that might sound like a lot to you, but I'm also looking at the sheer number of games in football we're going to have to cover, and I think there's not enough airtime here. There's so much that's going to be happening. This is going to be like, I know I keep repeating myself, but I am super excited about this.
Yeah.
44 hours. That's a lot of Lars v. Andy disputes. No, so the perspective is,
I'm
Lars,
gonna be the
just to let
moderator.
people know, we come at it from different, like when we approach World Cup, specifically World Cup, because we don't differ that much when it's outside of World Cup, like EPL and all that. But when it comes to World Cup, I'm much more tradition based, and the jersey matters and how history plays out over and over and over in a World Cup. They have an impact on results, and you are a little bit more pragmatic, and it's like
Statistically.
Yeah, statistically, how have you done recently? That's how I expect you to perform this World Cup, right? I mean, that's in a nutshell our difference. No?
That is 100% true. And the funny thing is, I think it was a pretty even split last time out of who was right the most and who was wrong the most.
Oh,
so
I kept the
that's what I
tally,
enjoyed.
Lars.
There was no ultimate validation for any of us. It was just
I kept the tally, Lars. I think it was a little bit more than yeah. No. What I will say is early on, the Lars thinking prevails. Later on, the Andy thinking comes into play a little bit more, and it all evens out in the one.
It does. I would look, not that anybody wants to go back and revisit the 2022 World Cup, but I would say if you didn't listen last time, because that World Cup was different. You got to remember the Kick-Around now. This will be our 4th World Cup we've done World Cup Kick-Around. The first 2 were nightly wrap-up shows that were live on the radio. The third one, because it was in the winter, the radio station didn't have any airtime to avail to us, so we had to do all of it online. We did it on YouTube and we podcasted it. Well, the best part of that is you can go back and revisit. Just go to the Kick-Around YouTube page and just fast forward. Just go find the final game and watch our recap of after Messi wins the final. I'm really proud of that. I thought it was great. Plus, Lars looks like the Unabomber through the whole thing. So It's
added appeal.
I decided to do the entire show wearing a hoodie. I mean, that's an interesting choice for me, visually speaking.
It was great.
I'm currently dating someone who works in marketing. She would strangle me in my sleep if I did something like that.
No, not necessarily. Because
the Sievertson appearance is a little bit more polished these days.
Okay. I was going to say it's also more unique, though. So, there's something to be said about that. You stand out.
That's right.
As a marketing gal, she would probably approve of that.
All right. So World Cup Kick-Around begins June the 10th, 7 p.m. here on the Ticket, and Monday through Friday through the entirety of the tournament, every night at 7 p.m. We'll do our regular Saturday shows from 2 to 4, occasional Sundays through the entire thing, and if you miss it live, yes, it'll be available each and every morning when you wake up via podcast. So make sure you like and subscribe and follow and all that stuff. We'll take a break. When we come back, since Lars is here, and the playoff games for the World Cup are coming up, we'll get Lars to help us preview the UEFA playoff games next year on the Kick-Around. We'll get into previewing the Champions League quarterfinals and discussing the sad story and outcome of Bodo Glint with our good friend Lars here in about 15 minutes or so on the Kick-Around. Welcome back. I'm Peter. Andy's here, and so is Lars, live via the miracle of the internet. Lars, now that we've got the big announcement out of the way, let's get into the fact that we have finally arrived at the long-awaited World Cup playoff games, which will start later this happening here. And since you're here, I thought we would get into the UEFA games that are happening across your continent. Do you have one in particular of these four paths that you'd like to start with, or you just want to go in order?
I think they're all kind of exciting, to be honest. There are a few big favorites, but I feel like they all kind of have flaws. I mean, we should probably mention Italy first, because Italy, on recent qualifying record, maybe not a shock that they're in here. They have had a few wobbly qualifying campaigns recently, but they are a team that, once they get through, people will immediately start mentioning them as a possible favorite, because when they get to a tournament, we're all just kind of expecting Italy to do their thing. So Italy just being in here adds a little bit of spice to proceedings, I think.
So that's Path A. Italy is with Northern Ireland, Wales, and Bosnia and Herzegovina. They do play Northern Ireland first at home, and then if they do, whoever wins that match obviously plays the winner of the other match.
They're single elimination matches. They're not home and away, so they play in Italy, right?
Yeah, and then
so Wales
is
hosts
at home.
Bosnia, right? So the winner of those two games play each other,
and that's on Thursday. And so the expectation is that Italy does advance. Now, if Italy trips up, and this would be 2 consecutive World Cups that they would not qualify for, which is like crazy to think that, right? But if they do trip up, which team out of that group do you think is the one that would be most likely to advance?
I'm not expecting them to trip up against Northern Ireland as much. I mean, Northern Ireland, I have a lot of respect for the fact that they managed to be competitive, because they've not got a huge talent pool to pick from, but it would be a massive shock to see them get through there. Wales and Bosnia are interesting. I think that's almost a 50-50 shot. I mean, Bosnia probably have more players at a high level on paper, but Wales have been really good after Craig Bellamy took over. Craig Bellamy turning into a good coach, like, I did not see that coming. Like that was very surprising.
And like a calm, cool, and collected kind of version of Craig Bellamy too. It's
odd,
weird,
but he has been fantastic. So I probably have Wales to shade that one. Wales in Cardiff, not necessarily easy. And I did see, I mean, Italy changed manager during qualifying. Gennaro Gattuso came in. Also another one who's like maybe not someone you expected to retire and become a tactical mastermind. Arguably, he has not. But after he took over, they beat Estonia, they beat Israel, they beat Estonia again, they've beaten Moldova. And it looked like, okay, maybe they're on their way to someone. But then Norway absolutely trounced them in that last qualifying game in Milan. There was a game with nothing on the line. And of course, the Italian players famously don't always, turn up when nothing's on the line. But I was not impressed by what they brought in that game. And I do think that whether it's Italy, Bosnia, or Italy, Wales, that's not a done deal, I don't think.
The interesting part of this for me, and Andy, you're the one that has a lot of weight in this, is the winner of this group goes into Canada's group, Group B, and depending on who it is, it completely changes the metrics of how that group is going to play out. Because look, if Northern Ireland goes through, I think Canada still feels pretty strongly about getting out of the group. If Italy goes through, I think it completely changes it for you, Andy.
Yeah, Group B is Canada, Qatar, and Switzerland, and then Italy would obviously join them. Also interesting is that first match for Canada would be against the winner of this path, and if it's Italy, they kick off the World Cup in Canada, in Toronto, and there's a significance there because Italy and Toronto has a lot of Italian expats.
Isn't it the largest Italian expat in the world outside of Italy?
Yeah, at one point, Toronto had more Italians than any city in the world except Rome. Way back in the day when there was a lot of immigration out of Italy because of the wars and all that. So, yeah, it's a huge match. But Canada, I can't think that they're hoping Italy goes through.
All right, I'm going to move.
Maybe not, but can I just quickly interject that I think that would be a great game.
It would be a fantastic game.
Out of all the big names you could get, out of all the sort of opportunities to have a moment, I think they're kind of there for the plucking, especially in the first game. I think that if I was a Canadian soccer fan, part of me would almost be hoping for this.
Okay, all right.
You know what? Yeah.
You go full Jesse Marsh.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to, just for time's sake, I'm going to fast forward to Path C as in cat, because that is the one that includes the winner of this will end up in the United States group of D, and that is Turkey playing Romania, hosting Romania, and Slovakia hosting Kosovo. And the winner of those two games will play each other for the spot in Group D, Lars.
Yeah, and you would expect Turkey to come through there. But Turkey really are. I mean, anyone who's been watching the Champions League and have been charmed and befuddled by Galatasaray and how they seem to be just a completely different team whenever they turn up. They're just a total wild card. Occasionally very good, occasionally just terrible. There's a little bit of that to the Turkish national team. They've got really good players, but you can never really fully trust them to be the sum of their parts, which is why they're in the playoffs, I guess, in the first place. But they are probably the team that, from a Team USA point of view, you kind of don't want, but you are the most likely to get.
Yeah. And again, like Canada's group, whoever wins this is probably going to change the temperature of the group for like an Australia or a Paraguay to try to be the third team out. Even if Turkey goes through, I fully anticipate the U.S. is going to get out of their group in one of the three spots. But I do think for the other two teams, depending on which of these four go through, changes that metric a little bit.
Yeah, and the significance of this team for the U.S. is that the U.S. plays them third. The game that they're all deciding if they advance or not.
100%. Okay, Path. Go ahead, Lars.
Just Turkey, again, would be a great occasion. Turkey is one of the great underperforming football nations in the world. It's a country of 85 million people, most of whom are football crazy. And really, based on the talent pool and the level of interest and everything, they should be much more prominent in the world of football. And one of these days, that nation is going to get its act together and become the sum of its parts, and then they'll be scary. And they have some good players here now, but that would be a fun matchup as well.
All right, the next path is Path B, as in boy, and the reason why this one has interest to locally is because the winner of this group will be base camped out of Frisco at Toyota Stadium. So this is the Ukraine hosting Sweden and Poland hosting Albania. And the winner of those two games will play each other to come spend at least a month up in Frisco.
Yeah, and I'm obviously rooting for Sweden here. Swedes and Norwegians, I think our rivalry is a little bit like the US and Canada, in that it's a friendly rivalry, and in the sporting sense, there can be a bit of needle there. Maybe when it comes to skiing, this can be a bit of aggro between the Norwegians and the Swedes. But typically we get on pretty well. We do like to make fun of each other if the other screws up, but there's no real hostility there. I mean, recent political developments aside, Peter, I think that's generally speaking how things have gone between you guys and the Canadians. No,
I don't feel much love these days, Lars, but I get it. So maybe maybe.
Wait, you don't feel love, or you don't feel love coming your way?
I don't feel love coming our way.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I don't feel like the United States is one of those much loved places right now, but whatever. Okay.
Sweden is interesting, Lars, because they're only in this through that crazy, wonky Nations League qualifying process, right?
Yeah. and they have
because they finished last in their group.
They were atrocious in their group.
But
they were managed by the Dane, as all my Swedish football supporting friends just refer to him as the Dane. In a very they were not happy having Jon Dahl Tomasson as their coach, and that was I think a Danish coach could be accepted in Sweden, but he was quite sort of aloof. He didn't even move to Sweden. I believe he lived in the Netherlands throughout, and he spoke English in press conferences. It was really weird. But he's been replaced by Graham Potter. Formerly of Brighton, who, if you're a Premier League fan who think that sounds a bit weird, you got to bear in mind he came up in Swedish club football. That's kind of how he got his break, and he speaks very passable Swedish. I mean, Graham Potter's Swedish is really impressive. He's back in charge of this.
Look at him.
Didn't have an instant impact. Just one draw and a defeat in his first 2 games. Bunch of injuries to contend with. No Kulusevski, no Isak. It's going to be a tight one. This is absolutely
this is a coin flip, right? Between those three.
This whole path, I think, between the 4 of them, you can make the case for all and none.
All right, the final one is Path D as in dog. The winner of this will go into the group with Mexico in Group A. I think this is also a tight one, Lars. It's Denmark facing off against North Macedonia, the Czech Republic hosting the Republic of Ireland, and the winner of those 2 games, as I said, will end up to play each other to go to the World Cup in Group A.
And stay in Mansfield, by the way.
Oh, and stay. That's right.
Yeah.
And stay in Mansfield.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
I think on strength of the squad, I do think the Danes should have an edge here. I think that is on paper the strongest squad, even though it's not a vintage Danish group, but they have a little bit more quality. The Czechs are actually, the Sparta and Slavia Prague have actually been doing some bits in European tournaments the last few years, but the Czechs, it's nothing like the sort of very good Czech teams that for old soccer heads might remember. And this is not a strong Irish generation either. I mean, they got there due to some late heroics in the group, and God bless them, but player for player, this is a pretty poor Irish squad. Unfortunately, I do have an affinity with that country, but I kind of would really expect the Danes to get out of this.
All right, so are we all in agreement that the likely outcomes is Italy is going through from Path A, the Ukraine from B?
Toss up?
Yeah.
Okay. Are we in agreement that it's probably Turkey coming to face off in the United States group of D?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, and we're all just going to run with the Danes and Greenland for Group A.
Danes and Greenland. Do they have? Yeah.
Yeah, they have Greenland.
Yeah. Get Ukraine and Denmark through just to spice it up a little bit.
Yeah, there you go.
Let's get everybody we've pissed off in the last 2 years.
And they would stay in North Texas. We could go visit them at their hotel, Lars, you and I. Go have a beer at the bar and just spread around good cheer.
I love talking about the World Cup with Andy and Lars. We'll do more of that, obviously, during the path of the tournament. Andy and I will preview the FIFA international games that are coming up in Mexico in this same window of time. By the way, these games are being played on March the 26th, and then which is Thursday, and then the finals are happening on the 31st of March of each of those 4 paths, which I think is the same schedule for the FIFA games.
It's the FIFA window.
So Andy and I will get into those a little bit later in the show. Very good. All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll all put our hands and grasp Lars and give him a big hug. We'll preview the Champions League quarterfinals and talk about Bodo Glimt next on the KickAround. Everton and Chelsea are in the 26th minute at Donuts, and this United fan are rooting for Everton. And we'll keep you up to date on that and cover the rest of the day in the Premier League and preview the Carabao Cup final here in about 20 minutes on the KickAround. Welcome back. I'm Peter. That's Andy, live on the internet or via the internet.
I don't need Chelsea to win either, by the way. I'm also rooting for Everton.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you need it more than I do. Yeah, 100%.
Very mixed feelings, but
all right, Andy, come on. Let's be sensitive. Let's put on our empathetic hats now. Let's put on our empathy hats.
I have something to say about that and Lars and Bodo. And this is not a sad story. This is a story of triumph.
Well, can I ask Lars? Let me ask Lars just a general question. Lars, with Bodo crashing out against Sporting in the Champions League this week, after going into that game with a 3-0 lead, is your reaction sadness, or is it kind of like this frustrated disappointment, or some mix of all of those emotions?
No, I am mostly sad because they went out I mean, results aside, I'm going to take a cue from Bodo themselves and their coach and focus on the performance, because it's what they always do. And they were nowhere near their usual levels. I mean, if they'd have played well but just gotten done by an extraordinary team, then that's okay. But they just played badly. It was one of their worst performances in Europe in years. And they did everything that they've usually been good at doing well. They did badly. And the coach was very clear about this. Kjetil Knutsen after the game and said, we played the occasion, not the game. And whereas Sporting were fearless, we were thinking about consequences all the time, and it was, they were nothing like their true selves, and it's sad going out in that way. You have to say that.
Okay, but after a few days, or maybe by next week, you have to look back at this as a great accomplishment, and with great satisfaction, right? I mean, once that raw emotion is out of the way.
Yeah, it is. I mean, two things can be true at the same time. You can be sad that in this pivotal game they weren't able to play to their capacity, but you can also acknowledge that this run is the greatest achievement in Norwegian club football history, which I think is pretty clear.
Right.
Rosenborg fans will argue that their consistency in the 90s was even better, but I think this run of beating City, Atletico Madrid, Inter is unmatched in the club football history of my country.
Yeah, and I was going to ask you that next. Is how like the perception in Norway, I'm sure the country rallied around, because not everybody's a Bodo supporter, obviously, but the country did rally around, I imagine, this run of theirs, correct or no?
Most people did, unless you're a hardcore fan of one of their rivals.
Yeah, okay.
And there are some of those. But I think everyone else, the floating voters, as it were, rallied because they're very likable. Like their success is not due to a lot of money being pumped in or which is often the case in soccer. You know, when an underdog suddenly does well, it's because a lot of money has been put in from somewhere, and that's just not the case with Bodo. It's just a case of them building a community and building a team that's become so much more than the sum of their parts. And when they've made money this last year, they've mostly spent it bringing their own guys back, like the guys who left Bodo to try to play abroad. They've been able to offer them some decent contracts to come back home. If you look at the team that's been successful now, half of the outfield players are guys who've gone abroad and decided to come back home again. So they are very, very likable. So I think most people have rallied. Yeah,
it is remarkable that if you had told you before the tournament or before this season had gone on that Bodo Glimt just need to win after the after beating Inter and City and Atletico, and even going to Atletico and winning there and beating Inter over 2 legs and all of that, and then you find out you get Sporting and you have a 3-goal lead going into that game. What is it about? Was that more about Sporting, do you think, in some ways, Lars, that really Sporting was just up for it? Or is that just one of these weird soccer things where one goal goes in and everybody starts to go, uh-oh, and then the second goal goes in and then the dam breaks?
I wonder if this. They will evaluate this, and they're very smart people. But I think they ended up in a slightly strange place psychologically going into that game, because they were in the first half at home in particular. They were really superior. Like they were a lot better than them. So when you go into, I do wonder if, I don't think they underestimated them at all, but I wonder if that usual underdog dynamic was disrupted a little bit by the fact that they had such a dominating first leg performance, and then you go away with a 3-0 lead. And I also think they went into that game feeling they had something to lose in a way they haven't in a while. And I wonder if that's the thing that got to them, and that maybe they should have tried to prepare slightly different psychologically.
Well, that puts Sporting in line in the quarterfinals to face off against Arsenal, who probably feel much better than having to face off against Bodo Glimt, I would think. But I also do believe, Lars, that this helps me, in my case, my preseason prediction that Arsenal is going to end up winning Champions League this year. So we'll talk about this quarterfinal first, Sporting and Arsenal.
Yeah, no, what we've learned, I mean, I don't think this was just Bodo Glimt collapsing. I think Sporting are very good at home. I think there's a big home-away split in their results, and that's something for Arsenal to be mindful of. they've only lost one game since September at home, and they've lost one, drawn one, and won the rest since mid-September at home. So clearly, at home, they are a formidable team. I don't like saying this, Peter, but I kind of agree with you on the Arsenal because the thing about Arsenal is they're really good defensively, and not many teams are right now. If you look at the other tournament favorites, I mean, maybe we'll get to them in this segment, but just so many of them, you would say, okay, they can be devastating going forward, but I don't quite trust their defense. That's how I feel about almost all the other tournament favorites. Whereas Arsenal, rock solid at the back. The attack doesn't always flow, but they have enough like extra cards they can play from the bench now that they usually find the way. So I also kind of like Arsenal, which is terrifying. I mean, we could be staring down the barrel of an Arsenal Champions League double. Don't like that as a Tottenham fan. This is very unfortunate for me.
In the round of 32, between all those games, there were 68 goals scored, which was averaging like 4 goals a game. But Arsenal in their tie only had I think it was 4 goals total out of that. So just remember this. Defense wins championships, and they're the one team, to Lars's point, that has a really good defensive setup.
Yeah, so I wanted to wait until we talked about the Bayern Real tie and Barcelona Atletico Madrid before asking this question, but I'll ask it now because the question for Lars is, now that we have the final 8, is Arsenal still the favorite because of the defense? More than Barcelona, more than Bayern at this point?
I would... Interesting. Are they favorites? I'm going to in a very Lars Sivertsen move, I'm going to default to the gambling odds here, and I've very, very quickly looked it up, and yes, they are actually with the bookmakers.
I want it. What is it in your brain, not what is in the bookmaker's brain?
No, well, I just said I kind of agree with Peter. I would have them as narrow favorites just for that defensive strength.
Yeah, and
that is also backed up by the gambling markets, who not that we need to reel off that because we're not being sponsored by any of those companies, but the gambling markets like Arsenal a little bit better than Bayern, Barcelona, PSG, and Real Madrid, and just for that defensive solidity reason, I would concur with that.
Yeah, we always talk about on the KickAround that the quarterfinals are the best round of the Champions League. With this new format, but I am afraid that the Arsenal Sporting is going to be the boring tie out of the 4. These other 3, though, I think are going to be completely wheels off. Barcelona and Atletico Madrid have already played each other 4 times this season, Lars, between cup competitions and everything, and that's going to be a fantastic tie.
And the interesting sort of touchstone here, I think, is back in February in the Cup when Atletico beat Barcelona 4-0. And after that game, according to reporting by The Athletic, the players actually held a meeting with their coach, Hansi Flick, and one of the subjects that were raised was, this high line we're playing, could we maybe occasionally, sometimes, we like it, but listen, there will be the odd game where maybe we should moderate our approach a little bit. Now, they absolutely destroyed Newcastle in the end. They've scored 12 goals in their last 2. I mean, they beat Sevilla 5-2 at last weekend as well. And they're an incredible football team. But you do wonder if they're the Death Star with the sort of the exhaust port there with that high line that a couple of teams have just been able to exploit.
I would say Atletico is one of those, right? I mean,
Atletico have done it once before this season, but even Sevilla did it earlier in the year. Real Sociedad were able to beat them. Like a couple of not amazing teams have been able to exploit this potential weakness. I think Barcelona are a better football team on paper, but it's an iffy tactical matchup for them, and I think it's going to be a very nervy 2 legs.
All right, let's move to the other side of the bracket, PSG and Andy's Liverpool. Andy, do you have any chance whatsoever?
No, 0.
Oh, come on.
0 chance. Well, you asked me. No, 0 chance. No, of course there's a chance, but PSG's, I think they're going from... they're growing as the tournament progresses. Would
just
you agree?
Like last year.
Yeah, just like
when they
last
won
year.
the.
Lars, don't you agree?
I do agree, and I've been told by people I know who cover the club very closely and know the club better than I do that the players are very focused on the Champions League. Like that's the thing they care about the most in the group by a long shot. And that you will probably see them apply themselves a little bit more in the Champions League than you might have seen in some games domestically for PSG this season.
Great.
But to try to They are not okay. So they have played an absolutely bazillion games in a row now because they had the club world championship last summer. Luis Enrique likes keeping a pretty tight squad. It's not the deepest squad in the world. He likes using the same guys most of the time. They are not pressing as intensely as they did last season, and they don't have Donnarumma in goal anymore. So what I'm saying is, yes, that front line can devastate anyone. Like this is as Chelsea found out. Like even on a bad day, this is a group of attackers who can put 4 or 5 goals past anyone. But you can get at them.
Have you watched Liverpool play defense lately?
Yes, so that would be a concern. But the good news is they can be got at. Like Liverpool will score goals in this tie. I can tell you.
Now,
and then the dynamic of the matches can change a little, and anything can happen. But no, it's not looking very good, is it?
We'll talk more about it later. But Ekitike going down for Liverpool and having to come out, and he was crying as he came off the field. We'll have to find out how bad that injury is, because that obviously would play very heavily into this if he's not available. And then the last of the 4, man, this is going to be so good, I think, Lars. Real Madrid and Bayern Munich facing off against each other. That goal Harry Kane scored the other day, that was insanely good. I just think this is going to be wildly fun and entertaining of the 4.
Can I stress, I'm a little bit in the sort of UK media bubble, and I'm a Spurs fan. So let me put this question to you. Do you feel like Harry Kane gets enough credit, like in general?
No, we've talked about it on the show. We think it's a very underrated couple of years that he's had.
Well, I just think I think he's underrated in general, but I do think that in part is because he's just such a generic personality. Like he has all of the skill set and he has all of the wild goals and on-field play, but he doesn't come with
headlines,
the bits that everybody and the drama.
Yeah.
He's just a nice guy off the pitch. He's a low handicap golfer. I mean, his handicap is like 2 or 3 or something. He's a very good golfer, and he's a good role model and a nice guy. But he doesn't do enough like sultry photos in Instagram of him in his underwear and stuff like this. Like he needs to go to the Ronaldo school of PR, I think. But just his numbers this season are preposterous. In the German league, he scored 31 in 23 starts. Like what is going on? He's 10 in 8 in the Champions League, obviously. No, Bayern, for my money, have been the best team in Europe this season, with the one caveat being they did lose to Arsenal, and this is where that sort of defensive solidity thing comes back into it. And as much as I think they've been pound for pound the best team in Europe this season, I just keep having like visions of Vinicius Jr. running through that defense, or Mbappe if he's around. Like the one strike against Bayern, have they really? Is the Bundesliga that strong this season? Not really. Have that defense really been tested against the best of the best of the best? Maybe not. And coming up against, I think Real Madrid are a slightly dysfunctional team, but we also know what they can do to their opponents. We know they have arguably the best goalkeeper in the world at the back, and they have Mbappe and Vinicius who can, on their own, put anyone down. So, if I had to put a bet on that, like I'd be tempted to go for Real Madrid. Actually,
it's Real Madrid. I'm always going to pick them in Champions League. They're undeniable, even when they're not the best form of themselves like they are currently.
You keep waiting for them to be like, for them to be found out, for them to be given a really like good hiding by a team that's like objectively better as a collective. And City did it a couple of years ago, actually. But there is this sort of, I think, and I know this sounds absurd because we're talking about Real Madrid, but Arbeloa, the stand-in coach, I think he has a humility to him, in the sense that the way he approached the City game was so clever. Like he knew City, he knew that City would want to try to get Haaland in behind, and they were very patient. They kind of sat back and waited for the spaces to open up, and they did. I think they'll do the same thing against Bayern Munich, and I kind of think Bayern Munich are a more fun team to watch. I kind of like them better in a lot of ways, but I just think that Real Madrid will end up doing the Real Madrid thing.
Yeah, I agree. Andy, I think it's Arsenal and Real Madrid at the end of this.
I will go with somebody other than Arsenal. I know the odds favor me, but you guys are going Arsenal. I think Arsenal's, I think they'll stumble.
Who do you think they're
focused
in the final?
on league play. Maybe they don't even get to the final.
Oh, okay. Andy
So
with
who
the
are
hot
you
sports
liking
agenda.
for it then? Can I just say, I think the most Andy Swift answer here is Real Madrid, because this is the force of history and tradition and all this sort of thing.
Yeah, but this Real Madrid team is so nuts. But that doesn't mean anything because we've seen that before, right? Maybe what if it's a Madrid-Barcelona final?
Ooh, I'd
Would
love
people
that.
get mad at that?
No.
Well, what I would say, I think we're running out of time probably in this segment, but what I have to say, I think it should be a lot of fun, because Arsenal seems to be the only team here who can defend.
Yes,
that's a really good setup for.
But you know what? And this is where you guys are right. Ultimately, is that defense does matter a lot, especially the later you go in, and depth. All these teams have depth, so that's not much of an issue. Arsenal has rotation. They have to worry about rotation as they go for all the trophies. Right? They go for all the trophies. Sometimes it can come back and sting you. And the league trophy for Arsenal has to be the number one hands-down priority.
100%.
And so I just wonder if rotation is affected with,
All right, there you go. Champions League quarterfinals. R.I.P. Bodo Glimt. Lars, we're going to let you go because I know you probably want to go nappy nap sleepy tight because it's very late where you are. We love and adore you, man.
Something like that. But so glad that we've made our big announcement. I'm really looking forward to seeing you two and all the listeners we end up hanging out with this summer. It's going to be so much fun.
Steaks and barbecue.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you, Lars Sivertson. We will be back here in a little bit, and we'll catch you up in the day in the Premier League, including look who's leading between Everton and Chelsea next on the Kick Around. We'll get into World Cup Nerd, focusing on the FIFA International Playoffs coming up later this week. Being played, yes, down in Mexico. We'll do that here in about 15, 20 minutes on the Kick Around. Welcome back. Thanks again to Lars for chiming in where it is very late where he was checking in from. So we appreciate that, and we're super excited that Lars is going to be here for June and July during the World Cup. During World Cup Kick Around. All right, let's first off, we're going to get into the Premier League. It's halftime between Everton and Chelsea. Everton is winning that game 1-0 at home. And what's crazy about this, Andy, is, Chelsea's been a weird team all season. I don't know if you're aware of the drama going on between Enzo Fernandez. Did you hear about the interview that he did?
No. What?
So he did an interview with a Spanish media outlet, and he essentially said, I don't know why they fired Maresca either. It kind of screwed us up. So there's been some speculation that Chelsea may be willing to sell Enzo Fernandez. I've seen that written in different places, which seems mind-blowing to me that they would be willing to part with that kid because he's done nothing but get better and better and better. And I think any club in the world would be excited to have him in their midfield.
Yeah. He comes with a little baggage, but
I don't know. Well, anyway, here's the thing I wanted to mention of this real quick. If Chelsea was to lose to Everton today, do you realize that Chelsea would be in 6th on 48 points and Everton would stay in 7th on 46 points? Everton would only be 2 points behind Chelsea.
Yeah, Chelsea in 6th, Everton in 7th.
Would that not be... I mean, if you just think about the context of the season...
Oh, there are bigger surprises than that in my book.
There are, but this one to me is pretty shocking. That if Everton can hold on, they would only be 2 points behind Chelsea and prime position for
a European slot.
A European spot. Yeah, that would be nuts.
Well, good on Everton. We need Chelsea to lose because your team and my team are both vying for some of those European spots as well.
Yes, I'm rooting for. And by the way, Jordan Pickford, another stunner of a save. I'm telling you, he's
on fire. Is he peaking too soon from an English national team perspective?
I don't know. He may be. He just. I hope not. I hope he's playing
that's
well.
who you pick. By the way, check in.
World Cup champion prediction.
Who you got?
I still got England.
Okay.
I got England.
I still got
what
Spain.
about you? You still got Spain?
Yeah, nothing's changed.
All right, very good. All right, let's before we get into the rest of the Premier League, let's get into tomorrow's big final at Wembley. It is Arsenal and City in the Carabao Cup final, the Leagues Cup final.
Okay, so this is
the beginning of Arsenal winning the quadruple happens tomorrow.
This is the least important of the 4 trophies, right? You could argue. but it's the only
quote unquote least important.
Yeah,
if you had to quantify,
yeah.
if you have to,
but it is right. I mean,
Yeah.
it's the least prestigious. How's that?
Okay.
And City still they're in good position to advance and win FA Cup. They're one of the final 8, so City still has an opportunity for that trophy. It doesn't look like. See if they'll be 6 back if they win that game in hand they have over Arsenal. So the league is looking difficult. So for City. So it just I'm very I try to figure out from each club's perspective who takes this game more serious. Like who needs to win this game more than the other. Arsenal less because they have bigger trophies that they're in prime position to win. Except they want the quadruple, right?
Mm-hmm.
City, though.
Well, Arteta does. Yes, Arteta very much thinks he's going to.
Everybody that it belongs to their who doesn't? If you're any way affiliated with Arsenal,
here's just something to think about, and just to put it in perspective. For all the however many kabillion trophies Pep has won with City, through this entire run with Arteta, they've essentially only won the one trophy, the FA Cup, in his first year back in 1920. Now, if you count Community Shields, okay, there's 2 more there, but you don't. This would only be their second trophy under
crazy,
Arteta, which seems pretty ridiculous.
Well, he can haul a bunch of them.
Yeah,
this
he
year.
could knock out 4.
Yeah, or
in
he
one
may not
season.
win any of them.
Right.
Although I think the league is in good shape. But for City. Like Guardiola could leave at the end of this year, right? That's the rumor. There's a chance.
He keeps making it sound like there's no way, but
so
I think
this might be the last trophy that is lifted under his watch.
It could be. I mean, assuming that the Premier League race is done and dusted, but yeah, this could be it. Oh well, the FA Cup.
Yeah, but I think the FA Cup still has lots of Premier League teams, and I think there's 5 of them in that 8.
The problem for Pep is that this game arrives at a point where the team is very much in a weird funk, getting knocked out of the Champions League. They've dropped 4 points from their last 2 Premier League games against teams they shouldn't be dropping points against. And Arsenal, by the way, is undefeated in their last 6 games against City.
Oh, against City specifically.
Yeah, Arsenal are unbeaten in the last 6, going back to 23-24. Now, here's the weird part, and I didn't know this until I was doing some research. City have won the Carabao Cup 8 times. The only time they lost it was back in 1974 to Wolves.
Lost in a final, you mean?
Lost in the Carabao Cup final.
Yeah.
Arsenal have only won it twice, and they've lost the final 6 times. They lost it in 68, 69, 88, 07, 11, and then to City back in 18.
Yeah. Those early ones, that's neither here nor there.
The
right?
ones from 100 years ago?
Yeah, those don't matter. But I don't know. It's just, to me, I usually don't get into this cup.
It's a final.
And it's a final, but it's an intriguing one because of the storylines connected to both these clubs. And, I'm rooting for Arsenal to win the league over City. But I don't know if I want them to win the quadruple. Because I get jealous.
Yeah.
That would make me jealous.
Well, they're not going to win the quadruple. I just don't think that's happening. Okay. I don't. I mean, I think at this point, I didn't have them winning the Premier League. I'll concede that it seems more likely than not that they'll win the Premier League. But to your point, I think the Premier League is their number one priority. I've said all along, I think they're winning Champions League. I still think
you do.
They're the weird defensive chain. Yes, I wouldn't be surprised now if they end up doing the double. But going on and winning the other 2 domestic competitions just seems like a reach too far. And it's Pep, and they always pull something weird out of his butt in these situations, sometimes not in a good way and sometimes in a really marvelously magical, tactical, genius way. And then I also wonder, does the outcome of this game in some way, weird shape or form, end up impacting their Premier League race between the 2 of them?
Yeah, and they still play each other one more time in league play.
I think in 2 weeks, that game, 2 or 3 weeks, it's relatively soon, that game in the league, which is a huge, huge deal because it takes whatever the gap is at that moment. It's a 6-point game.
Yeah. I think I'm with you. I think City. That's who you think, right?
Wins tomorrow?
Yeah.
I
I
think yes.
tomorrow.
I wouldn't be. Now, here's the thing. Pep has announced that James Trafford, is starting in goal, not Donnarumma.
Oh.
Because he's been riding him through this. And so I don't know if that's one of those weird things that maybe Pep underthinks or overthinks, depending on how you look at it. I don't know, man. We'll have to see how it all plays. Yeah, how it all plays out. Let's see what else. Leeds and Brentford is the other game that's happening later on today. That game kicks off at 3. Don't forget, for some really magically smart reason, the UK is still not done daylight savings time, so everything is pushed
which
off.
is great because Liverpool kicked off an hour later today. By the way, Brentford, you talk about Everton. If they win today, but if Brentford wins, if Everton beats Chelsea and Brentford also wins, they beat Leeds. Mm-hmm. They tie Chelsea for 6. So they lose out on goal difference, but they're right up there too.
Yeah, it would be interesting if their guy is up for Manager of the Year, if he can get that team into Europe after all the stuff, the way it started.
If Brentford gets into Europe, that would be such a fantastic story.
Yeah. Wild stuff. Okay, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll review some of the games that have already happened, including what went down at Brighton today and the game yesterday next year on the KickAround. Aw, Jesse Marsh's feelers are hurt. We'll make fun of him a little bit later during America's favorite soccer segment known as The Dribble. Welcome back to the KickAround. Everton and Chelsea have kicked off the second half. Everton still up 1-0.
You feel the Liverpool vibes there?
Man, I would love the new field to turn out to be a good thing for United. I just, I need them to help us keep Chelsea at bay, although Liam Rosenior seems to be doing a pretty good job for us. God, that whole thing is just so weird. Here's my thing about Liam Rosenior. I just feel like he's more bit than manager. Does that make sense? Lars called him
self-imposed bit.
Lars referred to him as the LinkedIn of football management.
Yeah. Polished.
Yeah.
Corporate.
It's just
rehearsed.
I don't know. The whole thing
studied.
There's just something really weird going on with Chelsea, and I don't know if it has something to do with the fact that the front office thinks that they should be dictating how the manager should be doing things,
but the way they got dinged for some kind of breaking.
Oh, that's right. We haven't even talked about the fine for.
They just got fined and a slap on the wrist and no sporting penalty at all for breaking the rules.
Yeah, well, and that was all painted under the idea that they had cooperated because
it was
Bowley's people found.
Sure,
but and I just wonder if that isn't the precursor for them really sticking it to City, because City was anything but cooperative through that or has been anything but cooperative.
What has City done wrong? There's no Like, what happened to that investigation?
That's my point. Is that maybe they tried to get this one out of the way and only give them a slap on the wrist so they could really stick it to City, because they didn't cooperate and call themselves out, at least in theory. If you haven't, you could talk about this ad nauseum forever, especially when you think about how the FA and the Premier League and the EFL have penalized other clubs like Everton and was it Leicester last year?
Yeah, Leicester, and there's one more.
Nottingham Forest. Forest lost points last year. The whole thing, the fact that Chelsea got through that entire deal and somehow won all those trophies and end up not getting anything other than just kind of a minor fine in the scheme of things is weird, I'd say. Yeah, okay.
Hey, let's talk about your club and my club, because there's a story here.
For the first time in a really long time, I want to do this.
Because they are going in opposite directions. And I think it was last year, as Liverpool was winning the title and I was feeling bad for you, you said, or I think I said, look, your time will come. It's all cycles. And then you said, yes, but my time won't come. We're so far away from the cycle. And less than 12 months later, here we are. The cycle has completely hit. We are a team going down. We may not make Europe. And United is in third place. Man United. So you guys drew against Bournemouth, and you're all upset about that draw, the 2-2 draw yesterday.
No, I'm not upset.
But when it's all said and done, your team is getting results good enough for third place, and my team, the defending champions, suck, and they're not getting results. And the two teams are two very different teams, and there is no doubt that United is a better team now than Liverpool.
Liverpool is playing like doo-doo.
Yeah. 1 year later, less than 1 year later, right? Wouldn't you agree? I mean,
100%. And we were talking about this during the break. Out of all this stuff, and I hate to admit this, one of the overriding emotions I still carry, I'm bitter about this, is the fact that United are in third and Carrick has this same group of guys playing this way and this well. Just makes me all the more mad about Amorim and how he weirdly insisted on running things the way he ran, which now in reflection just looks horrifying.
Yeah.
And so
sometimes the answer is simple.
Yeah.
Right?
And you know what? That's the crazy part, is that I think many United fans felt like we were taking crazy pills going, wait, why are you substituting center backs needlessly at the 60th minute in a tight game?
Yeah, right.
Like weird stuff like that he was doing, much less everything else. And you're like, well, no, he's a really successful guy, and they're paying him a lot of money. He's got
he must.
He's
know
got
what
a
he's
UEFA
saying.
Pro A license, and I don't. I got
Right.
a bag of chips. What do I know? And then, sure enough, it turned out we were all right, and he was wrong.
Exactly. And so, but the two clubs now, speaking of coaches, are facing two different dilemmas. They're dilemmas. At the coaching level, and one is, do you keep the guy that has put him on this run and has him in third place, who doesn't have the resume and the skins on the wall, Carrick, and then my team, Liverpool, do you fire the guy that got you the trophy the year before?
Somebody wrote a really good article about this. It may have been Wilson this week about how football managers have become meat. And it's just like we just buy and sell meat because we think it spoils or whatever, and they're not. And I just think people
should go check out the Brazilian league.
Yeah, I know it makes me nuts, but the slot Liverpool thing mystifies me in a lot of ways. Today I was watching somebody put a whole presentation together trying to make the case that the problem with Liverpool is not unusual with Dutch managers in the Premier League, which is the way they do their fitness training isn't the right thing for the Premier League for the amount of running that needs to be done because of the physical nature.
They don't do enough?
Yeah, so this person was trying to make the case that what is ailing Liverpool currently is not dissimilar to many of the things that was ailing United when Ten Hag was managing it, in that they just physically weren't there because the Dutch don't manage clubs that way.
Yeah, interesting, because Liverpool has a lot of things going wrong and things they're not doing well, but one of the main issues they have is that they are not pressing as well as we're used to Liverpool pressing, which was part of their game, right? The Klopp's game, and that's a fitness thing, right? If you're not fit, you can't play that style. And so that's interesting. I'm gonna look into that, Peter, because I like that theory.
I had never thought of it either, but it belies the fact that the team was just so amazing last year in the run to win the Premier League.
But the fitness was you were coming off a Klopp year.
A Klopp year.
But today, watching them, you watched the game, right? Obviously, the unforced errors that they're committing in any given game. Like, if it's a one-off game, okay, they weren't there, mentally sharp, this and that, they just had a game. But when every week you see these unforced errors, first goal today was an unforced error. Like, there's no reason that they should have coughed up that ball for a corner. So that's fatigue too, though, right? I mean, that's if you're just mentally drained and you're not in shape.
I didn't have Liverpool picked very high in my preseason predictions because I thought there were several red flags.
You had him third.
Did I have him third?
Yeah, I think
I
so.
thought I had him fifth or something. Maybe.
No.
Oh, I did. Okay, that's higher than I thought I did. But I did think going into the season there were multiple red flags. The death of Jota, I think, is one that I still am curious as to how much that is a lingering effect, and I don't want to dismiss it or discount it. But I thought bringing in all this new blood, all the money that was spent, the fact that it was the season after winning the Premier League, all of the Salah situation, all of those things just kind of made me feel like it was going to be an off season. But this is a way more off the rails season than even I was expecting.
And the only reason why we would still entertain, and we'll talk about, and the media will just talk about it to death, if they finish top 4, top 5, and get into Europe, they'll still talk about Slot being let go because Xabi Alonso is available, right?
Yeah. So you're the Liverpool fan. Where are you at on Slot?
Well, I was high on Slot. Clearly, I was high on Slot because of
he won,
and the team looked great, and man, this guy and his halftime tweaks were great. Remember last year, halftime tweaks were great. But I don't like what I'm seeing now. I mean, you can't be happy with that. But at the same time, if it's Xabi Alonso, who they would get, if Slot goes, that's who it's going to be. Is it better? Maybe.
But how much of what also ails Liverpool at this point is the fact that they made a lot of purchases in the defensive line when it came to fullbacks, but they didn't go out of their way really to address the center back situation, although they did buy the Italian kid who got hurt really early.
Mm-hmm. No, they didn't address depth.
Right.
They didn't spend money on defense. That's one of the issues. But there's so many issues. It's not just one thing. By the way, you picked Liverpool first.
Did I really?
First, yes. I'm looking it up here.
I probably did that just to spite you.
Yeah, maybe. I picked your club fourth.
Worked.
I picked Man United fourth.
What did I have United?
You had not even in the top 7.
Man, I'm telling you, my course in Bob Sturm's School of Sports Jinx was so worth the money. I got the double running for me this year.
Anyway, Liverpool bad.
You asked me this question in the break. Do I think they need to hire Carrick? I still think they need to let the entire season play out, only because there are contracts of major players that are open, and you may end up doing a significant amount of roster rebuilding. And do you want to do that with Carrick, or do you want to do that with a Luis Enrique or a Carlos Ancelotti, who may or may not be available? That's the only thing that keeps me from saying yes. Oh, the other thing I'm worried about is it dawned on me today, and I don't know why it took me this long to realize it, but Michael Carrick looks like an Oasis Gallagher brother, which I think is a problem. But
it is a problem for you?
Since they're City fans and all.
So there is something to be said about a guy like Carrick that can help in recruiting. Young, ex-high-level pro.
Right.
There's a lot of relatability to players that way. There are some managers that would trump that, but there's not a lot of them.
No.
There really are not a lot of managers that would trump that.
No, I would say right now in my brain there might be 3 guys that I would take over Carrick, even if he ends up getting them into the Champions League.
They are?
I would say Carlos Ancelotti,
Luis
Enrique,
I'm surprised you said that.
And Thomas Tuchel.
Tuchel's
But now, the problem with Tuchel is Tuchel available because England bombed out of the World Cup? And do you want to hire a guy like that?
Yeah.
Or you could probably say that about Ancelotti, too, like if Brazil doesn't do well in the World Cup.
Yeah. I'm surprised you say Ancelotti.
Enrique is the one that's most intriguing for me just because of his story, the way that he plays with PSG, his success with them.
Yeah.
That to me, and I also think a guy like that suddenly changes the attractiveness of the club to inbound players.
I agree that Enrique would be one of those, Pep, but he's not going to be available, that kind of thing. Other than that, though, the handful, I think Carrick has to be your man. That's just me.
Maybe. All right, tomorrow there are some significant games. Aston Villa, speaking of a team trying to get into the Champions League, they have to play West Ham, who have been pretty solid of late. And then Spurs and Forest. This is a huge game tomorrow in the relegation battle. I don't know, man. The idea that Spurs is in this situation, I feel bad for Lars. I still think Spurs gets away with it. I think they have the easiest, quote-unquote, of the schedules between them and West Ham and Forest remaining for the rest of the season. That game's at 9:15 in the morning tomorrow. Man, if Spurs lose that game to Forest, I can't imagine. As I said, Villa and West Ham, and then the big one, the Tyne-Weir Derby, Newcastle and Sunderland. That is a massive, massive rivalry in England dating back for a very, very long time. there's a YouTube video documentary, a short that I always post that I always recommend of people walking into the stadium for this, which is so dramatic and tense, and it feels like a riot is about to break out. That'll be a really interesting one to watch at 7 o'clock tomorrow morning.
Sunderland 13th now, by the way. Remember when they were the darlings because they got up to that great start? So doesn't Brentford look a lot better? They're 45 points now, 7th place, about to go to 6th place. I mean, right?
Yeah, it was Xhaka going down with injury, because they made it through the AFCON, which is where I thought everybody thought their soft spot of their schedule was going to be. So those are the games coming up tomorrow. So there you go. The Premier League in a little bow here on the KickAround. We come back. It's time for World Cup Nerd. We preview the FIFA playoff games for the World Cup next year on the KickAround. Well, don't look now, but Everton holds a 2-goal lead in the 69th minute over Chelsea. Unreal. Crazy. Everton's been so good. Chelsea, obviously, the bonkers story. All right, welcome back to the KickAround. That is our bat signal, our audible bat signal. That is the theme for the World Cup in FIFA because the World Cup is near. And if you didn't get to hear the beginning of the show, we formally announced we will be doing World Cup Kick-Around again this year on the ticket. Every night during the tournament, 7 p.m., right after the hard line, Monday through Friday. Lars is coming to town to do the show with Andy and I, and it will be a blast as we help guide you, the good soccer-loving P1, through the World Cup happening here in our backyard. All right, now, speaking of that, we already, with Lars earlier, went through the fact that the World Cup playoff games are starting this week. The UEFA ones, obviously, are happening over in Europe, and we talked about those earlier.
And we have Italy as the favorite out of A, toss-up in B, Turkey in C, and Denmark in D as our collective favorites.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now, in Mexico, yes, they're still happening. The FIFA international playoffs are taking place.
Wait, I thought Mexico had qualified. What do you mean in Mexico?
They're actually not bringing games to the United States. They let Mexico host games.
Oh, it's these playoff games will be
played in Mexico.
Okay.
And that is remarkable. I was so delighted by that news. I was so worried they were going to try to cram these into the United States just because ticket sales. I'm so glad that they gave them to Mexico. And so those games are happening. The first games are being played on the 26th. The two Bath finals will be happening on the 31st next week.
All right, so we have two brackets, two pathways, as they call them, Pathway 1 and Pathway 2. Pathway 1 will be played in Guadalajara, and that involves New Caledonia, Jamaica, and the Democratic Republic of Congo out of Africa. So
New Caledonia is down near
they're
Oceania.
Right, yeah.
Okay,
so that's second place. New Zealand qualified in first. They would be considered very, very much an underdog no matter who they played. And they are playing Jamaica in that semi. The winner then goes on to play Congo. The significance of Pathway 1 is that they will open up against none other than Portugal and Ronaldo in Houston.
Right, that's right. Yeah.
So you have to feel like Jamaica will advance out of their semifinal to play Congo in that final. And that's a good, tight game. But, qualifying out of Africa is difficult. And I would tend to think that the Congo has the advantage.
But Jamaica's been a bit of a mess of a national team of late. Steve McLaren was the manager, and he resigned. And
yes, but you're saying but that gives them a chance? Or
no.
But they might stumble against New Caledonia? No, that will not happen.
Okay, or Congo. Yeah. Now, I want Jamaica in the World Cup because they have revealed two of the nicest shirts for the entire tournament, the home and away kits they've introduced for Jamaica. Oh, they're lovely. They're all the Jamaican colors. They're just some of the design details and stuff. Really nice.
You're getting yourself one?
I don't know if I'll do that.
I don't know if I like them that much. Okay.
Well, I'm just saying they're really nice. So the other pathway, Andy.
Yes, Pathway 2 is Bolivia, Suriname, and then Iraq. So Bolivia and Suriname would play that first semifinal, the winner playing Iraq. And these matches will be played in Monterrey. Bolivia and Suriname, you think, okay, the one that comes out of CONMEBOL, because Suriname comes out of CONCACAF, CONMEBOL is considered a stronger confederation. But Bolivia did finish 7th out of 10. And all the results come in altitude at home. They only scored 4 goals in 9 away matches in CONMEBOL. So I actually think Suriname has a better chance of advancing out of that semifinal match to play Iraq. Yes.
Okay. See, I'm rooting for Bolivia because
I have a
Borracho,
soft heart for Bolivia in your heart.
I have a Borracho brother who is from Bolivia.
One of your teammates. Explain what a Borracho is.
Yes.
Because Borracho in Spanish is drunk, so we don't want to say you have a drunk brother. He's one of your teammates on the team that you play on. He's from Bolivia. Okay, so you're rooting for them. I'm rooting for Suriname to give CONCACAF a little love. Now, the significance out of this group, other than the fact that they'll play in Group I, which has France, Senegal, and Norway, is that Iraq is a possibility to replace Iran if Iran indeed does not choose to play in this World Cup.
If they don't, I guess FIFA could still, even if Iran won this pathway, I guess they could decide to put Iran in Iraq in Iran's spot.
Yeah, FIFA can do anything they want, and they've said as much. They've been asked. They've been asked what they would do, and they're like, "Well, we're not speculating. We fully expect Iran to play, but we have a lot of options," is what they say. So one option is just Iraq goes straight through, and then Bolivia, Suriname play it out for that second spot. The other one is to leave Iraq there and go with whoever did not qualify, like the third place, whatever, Iran, Iraq finished for a second, and then that would be UAE.
Oh, okay.
That they would qualify directly, but then Iraq would think that's unfair. The other choice is to just have two teams play each other.
If they don't get through on their own accord, Italy shows up.
Yeah, if Italy doesn't qualify.
If somehow...
Commissioner's choice.
You just kind of have this weird feeling that if Italy somehow bonks it in the playoff and doesn't qualify, magically Iran won't come to the tournament in Italy. Huh?
Where's Infantino from? He's Italian, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It just magically the Italians will end up in the World Cup one way or the other. Yes.
But I do think Iraq would be the favored one out of Pathway 2 if it plays out like that.
Okay.
Yep.
Awesome. So those are all the pathways. That's all finally happening in the course of the next week. We'll be in the middle of all those games when we do the show next weekend, so we can catch everybody up. That's pretty great. Now, obviously, this is also going to end up being an international weekend, and the U.S. has two really interesting games. They've got Portugal and
Belgium.
Belgium, thank you. My mind blanked. Mm-hmm. And Pochettino did make his big call-up of the roster the other day.
Yeah. So, any major surprises for you?
Well, I think the thing that freaked everybody out were the number or the names of people who aren't there because of injury. So obviously Tyler Adams, whatever's going on with him, he didn't play yesterday against United. I've read that it is a quadriceps injury, which could just be like a dead leg and it's a bruise and it just needs a little bit of time.
Or it could mean deep
It could be, it could be something worse. But I've not seen anything anywhere that says this is something to worry about long term. Haji Wright, who obviously has been just banging goals in for Coventry City, is also out with, I think, a groin injury. And a couple of other ones here or there. I think the surprise of this for me, and this is the one that drives me the most nuts, and I know it's good. If it makes me nuts, this is going to make your eyeballs fall out, is the fact that he called up Giovanni Reina again.
How many minutes has he played this season in Germany?
I actually have this written down somewhere. I think it. So he's at Borussia Mönchengladbach, and I think
like 45 minutes. I mean, it's something like that.
He's seen only 26 minutes in the Bundesliga this year.
Not even 45 minutes.
So I don't know why.
Because he played well the last call-up. He did.
I guess.
He scored a goal, was a team player. Maybe politically, Pochettino wants him just because of all the fallout from the last coach and all that went down. He doesn't want to create issues in that regard. I don't know.
Maybe. I can't imagine at this point anybody is pushing it anymore. It can't be a political thing. This has got to be Pochettino just thinking, I need one more creative outlet in a worst case scenario off the bench, and maybe he's that. The other one that I think is really important is Johnny Cardoso, which is the weirdest story because Johnny Cardoso has gone from playing and balling out in Brazil with Internacional to doing the same thing in Portugal with Real Betis, getting bought and sold to play for Atletico Madrid.
Yeah, one of the big ones. This is a giant.
And he's playing very well for them.
He is.
In
Champions
fact,
League, too.
Pochettino actually went out and watched them win that game against Tottenham the other day.
Yep.
And he gets the call up, but every time he shows up,
he farts
for the national team.
Yeah.
I always make the joke that he must have sent his lesser talented twin brother Jimmy Cardoso to play in his role, because he blows it with the United States.
There are just some players like that. There's some players that it's the other way around. They don't do well at the club level, and with the national team they grow, and he's just one of those that hasn't figured out. If he doesn't do well in this window, does he get called up?
No, I don't think he does.
Okay.
No, I think this is a make or break scenario. I think he'll get as many minutes as he can, as he wants over these 2 games. I think Pochettino really needs him to play like he plays for Atletico. Center back obviously is our biggest problem, the United States' biggest problem. Chris Richards, a lot. Chris has been playing lights out for Crystal Palace, but who plays alongside him is a giant question.
So I remember I asked when we had Jeff Carlisle last week what his biggest worry was regarding the national team. My biggest worry is not locking down this center back combination, because as we know, that is the one thing that you need consistency from to do well in a World Cup. You need to get to the World Cup, like play that first World Cup game with a center back combination that has played together for a bit and is insane.
Yeah, but you're forgetting they're playing 3 in the back now. This isn't just finding 2 center backs. This is playing.
Does that make it worse, or does that help? I don't know.
Well, I think in some ways, because you're reducing space, it helps.
Yes.
But you're also now trying to make 3 guys gel versus 2.
Yes. So
you got Chris Richards, then you got Tim Ream, you got Austin Trusty, who's playing for Celtic and had a kind of a meh season. You got Miles Robinson, who's playing for Cincinnati, who, by the way, allowed 11 goals this week alone.
I know. You're talking about Champions League, too. Yeah.
Between MLS and Champions
total
League.
meltdown, by the way.
Cincinnati. And Mark McKenzie, who's playing over at Toulouse, who's pretty solid, but like Johnny Cardoso, shows up and tends to have brain farts at the national team level. So here's something to put into consideration.
Oh, no.
Because I do believe, I got to read this quote to you from Pochettino about my favorite, Tanner Tessman. FC Dallas, former player, now playing at Lyon. Tessman recently had to play at center back for Lyon, and he played it quite well. And I'll just remind everybody, going in the Wayback Machine, our friend Buzz Carrick, who used to watch Tanner Tessman very closely when he was at the academy level, at one point, I believe he said if Tanner Tessman would play center back, he'd be a $70 million player, or make up whatever the number was. It was the point being is he would be an international superstar if he was playing center back. So Pochettino said the following the other day about Tessman. Is a very good player because he has one thing that is very important, brain. He understands soccer. He understands every single position, the way that he needs to perform and to behave, and it's not new for me.
Interesting. Are you suggesting that they should try him out at center back and muck things up even more?
No, because I don't think you have enough time to make that work, and it's not his natural position. But I do think it probably makes him, not only is he an outstanding center midfielder who just continues to grow in stature and just get better and better, but could, in theory, play at center back if you needed him to in a pinch situation.
And you want those kind of guys when you're building a roster, for sure. 4 guys were called up at goalkeeper instead of 3. That was odd. Is that just to give
I think he's desperate to figure out, if Matt Freese goes down, what's my second best option?
So Turner's not the lock there, at second?
No, I don't think he is. And the crazy part about the U.S. goalkeeper situation is, for generations, we never worried about it. We always had a great. And I also feel that by the next World Cup cycle, we'll feel similarly. The U.S. has a ton of really, really top-notch young prospects. They're just not ready this World Cup. This is going to be the one. And I do worry that goalkeeper is the one position that ends up
Achilles heel that costs him.
Wow.
How ironic would that be?
It would be the weirdest. Pochettino also had a ton of really great things to say about Weston McKennie and the fact that he's been playing all over the field for Juventus, and that's going to be important to him as well. Man, that's a guy that I think about every week and just hope that he doesn't end up, knock on wood, end up on some sort of injury report, because he's playing so well. for Juventus.
I thought you were going to say on some social media platform about some latest scandal.
No.
Okay.
No,
He's past
no.
that. He's past that. Okay.
So, yeah, the U.S. has the 2 games coming up. Is it Portugal the first game, I think? No, it's Belgium on the 28th. And then Portugal on the 31st. So there you go. They're both in Atlanta on the grass field that has been installed for the World Cup, by the way. So we'll get to see one of those installations for the very, very first time.
No Ronaldo, by the way.
Yeah, Ronaldo will not be there for Portugal. And watch Portugal suddenly turn into a real contender for the World Cup final.
Well, they don't have to worry about Ronaldo.
Because they don't have to worry about Ronaldo. Yeah, 100%. All right, there you go.
Very good.
There's World Cup Nerd. When we come back, we will finish up the show with a bonus segment. It's the dribble, next on the KickAround. Okay, here's a bonus segment of the KickAround before we lead into what, Dylan?
Stars pregame.
Oh, Stars pregame with our friend Michael Dixon, who's sitting right here across from me. I was wondering why.
Really?
Well, I thought for some reason you asked me if there was a Mavericks game here tonight.
Tonight, because the Stars are on the road. I'm wondering if the Mavs play tonight.
Correct.
All right. I'm a dum-dum.
Andy knows.
I'm a dum-dum. I'm a real dum-dum. All right. Let's do America's favorite soccer segment known as the dribble. All right. Oh, by the way, I can't believe I'm saying this. Everton is beating Chelsea 3-0. Everton's going to win this game. And I just want to put this into context. In the last 6 games, Chelsea with this loss will be 1-1-4. Let that soak in for a second.
How's that new coach working out? That new gaffer of theirs.
And Everton with the win will be 4-0-2.
They have a Scottish gaffer.
And they're now only 2 points apart in the standings at 6th and 7th place.
More importantly, your club and my club both
benefit from Chelsea
from this. Yes,
dropping. I mean, Chelsea is the weird. I mean, do they fire Rossinier now? Because he clearly is just out of his.
So many coaches.
I know.
Like they just keep firing guys.
It's crazy, really, really crazy.
Like I don't know if you can. I mean, they can.
I'm telling you, the interview that we mentioned earlier
just a bad
with Enzo.
hire.
Well, it's just one of those hires that kind of makes you aware of the fact that they feel like this is not about a manager. This is about a front office, kind of like we're going to run things. You're just an employee.
Like the Dodgers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, like the Dodgers.
They have the manager that just runs the locker room, and they take care of business for him.
Speaking of the Todd Bowley method, did you see the roster that Tuchel called up for the England friendlies?
Yes. I saw who he left out.
Well, did you see he called up 35 people?
Yeah.
That's a massive number for friendlies.
Big budget to travel all those folks.
It's a big budget.
But they have the money. And according to you, they're World Cup favorites.
I do think they're World Cup favorites.
The World Cup favorites.
Where do you fall on his decision to leave Trent Alexander-Arnold out? I do too.
Right. I
Yes.
mean, I don't understand. If you're going to, not only that, you call up 35 guys and you leave them out. That's like, that's an insult, man.
No, it does seem weird. My favorite thing, because the internet is filled with fake stories and fake news and made up stuff, was the one that somebody posted a photo from like some European beach of Tuchel sitting on the beach with Trent's ex-girlfriend.
Oh.
I tried to make a story out of that. I thought that was funny. Weird. What about Bellingham?
What about him?
Do you think Bellingham should be on the team?
Yes. Don't you?
Yeah. But he's had the injury situation, and he also, I think Bellingham arrives with a little bit of
bagage.
Yeah, something like that. I still think they're great. I will say, after a brace today for Brighton, Danny Welbeck needs to be on the plane for England
at 35,
just for the just for the purposes of morals.
At 35,
yes, at 35.
No, they don't need 35-year-olds because it's the heat that will get them in this World Cup.
Who does England play in these 2 games? I got to look that up here real quick. I don't know.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Let's
moving on. There was an interview with one Jesse Marsch. Do you know who this Jesse Marsch character is, Andy?
Uruguay and Japan. I do. He is currently the coach of the Canadian national team.
Yeah, and your temperature on Jesse as the manager of your national team is currently what, sir?
I don't dislike that he's the manager, but I just wish sometimes he'd just focus on the business and just, he likes headlines or getting into headlines a lot.
They have Tunisia and Iceland and Toronto here for their friendlies. There's a new interview with him where he reveals a little bit more detail about how he came to find out that he was not going to be the manager of the U.S. men's national team. Now, he claims that he was literally, quote, being fingerprinted for a visa at Leicester, that he was in line to take the Leicester City gig. And this happened after he had said he had, quote, a very clear phone call with somebody telling him he was going to be Berhalter's replacement, only to then decline the Leicester gig because of that. And he found out later on that they had changed their mind and they were going to get Pochettino instead.
He's still bitter about it.
Well, the article claims that he said he was, quote, devastated and angry.
Still is, apparently.
Man, I'm telling you, if the math all works out, USA and Canada in that round of 32 game in San Francisco on the 4th, I think it is, of July, that would be bonkers.
Man.
Absolutely bonkers. Major League Soccer, just out of the blue, finally got around, not finally, just seemingly way early, announced how they're going to handle the little tiny cutout season at the beginning of 2027 before they flip their calendar to the FIFA calendar.
What do they call it?
The sprint season. The 2027 MLS sprint season. It'll have every team will play 14 games, twice against conference teams within their own conference. And then they will go to a playoff. 8 teams from each conference will make the playoffs, and that'll whittle down into an MLS champion.
One game against every team in your conference, home and away.
One game, right, yes.
You get one. You either get them at home or away,
right.
One game only.
Yes. And then that will go, and then there'll be an MLS Cup champion, and that will count as an MLS Cup champion.
Let's go.
And right now it'll arrive with the asterisks, and that'll be the one Dallas wins.
They will not add an asterisk, but... Still, you don't turn it down.
Yeah.
If it presents itself.
And real quick before we go, did you see the 14-year-old kid who scored in the U.S. Open Cup this week?
I did.
Yeah, that was really cool. Braden Kaloji scored for a Georgia-based club that's playing in the Open Cup. So, 14-year-old kid, 14 scoring in a U.S. Open Cup game. That's pretty ridiculous. Tonight at Frisco, up in Frisco at Toyota Stadium, it is the Texas Derby, FC Dallas, and the Dynamo. I will be in attendance.
Nice, good for you.
I'm going to be wearing my sweet new home kit that I love so very much. You want to go with me? I got an extra ticket.
Not even a chance.
Why not?
To watch a game with you, I know better.
Dixon, if you didn't have stars, you'd go, wouldn't you? Yeah, see? Dixon likes me.
I have plans, Peter. Sorry, I have plans.
You have plans. All right.
Dallas
very
Cup
good.
next week, dude.
There we go.
Dallas Cup next week.
I know. You've got very big things. Oh, Dallas Cup. Yes, Dallas Cup is next. You got a plan for the Dallas.
Okay,
we were going to mention the Dallas
12
Cup.
seconds. Okay,
Dallas Cup all next week.
Yeah, that's right.
What day does it kick off?
Next weekend.
What time?
Next Sunday is opening day.
Sorry, I blew it. It's just
that's fine.
It starts on Sunday.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And Aston Villa's coming to town to play in the Super Group.
Yeah,
and so
first timers. First time. Yeah, great tournament. We know all about it. Next Saturday we'll talk about it more.
Okay, very good. That's it for another episode of the KickAround. Thanks to Lars for checking in from Europe. Thanks to my buddy Andy, and thank you Dylan for pulling double, triple duty today, and Cam Lafata for doing tickers. Very good, everybody. Thank you so very much. We will speak to you next week on another episode of the KickAround. We love and adore you. Going out there, get stuck in, and win your 50s.